With me in studio is Einhorn, who is a social worker, as well as Ayala Sheni, who is a member of the Israeli Congress. Thank you both so much for being with me. Tell me more, if you could, just about the project, sir. Given the fact that we're in the pandemic, the need to do pretty much everything for Yom HaShoah online.
Okay, I think that's a difficult one. First of all, I'll say basically I'm part of the local consensus council, okay, in Ashdod. It's part of the Israeli Congress project and Ploukta organization. I think it's very, very unsimple for Holocaust survivors to be able to communicate and be able to, for us to express our empathy to them. I think that's a hard one. Yeah. It's not easy.
Talk to me about the Memory in the Living Room project, which does rely on modern technology and really getting people of different generations together online.
Yeah, actually about Memory in the Living Room, I am a member of this project as well, and I gave already for 2 years let's say my evidence as a second generation, because my father, rest in soul, was a Holocaust survivor. And I think that in a way what we're trying to do this evening and tomorrow in our Zoom meetings of this Israeli Congress and Ploukta is basically to give this feeling of memorizing together, but do it with all the sectors of the Israeli society.
Tell us more about the Memory in the Living Room project. What is it?
Well, it's not what we are doing is not exactly like the Memory in the Living Room project, because we're not going to have witnesses of first generation or second generation. Actually, we are going to share together our experiences. What is the Holocaust for us? What is the Holocaust memory for us? And to see maybe the different memories or the different experiences of, on one hand, let's say Chiloni or secular people, on the other hand, the Orthodox people, and to see how can we bridge together to create a collective memory which will be built on consensus and not on separation.
Can you talk to me about that, Aaron? I mean, especially in these times, the idea that you could have religiously observant men and women communicating with and finding common ground with secular Israelis. Why is that important?
Okay, I think that in this situation, it's a great question. I think it's needed more than ever, because I think that also us as Jews, we went by a very difficult journey from the Holocaust and in the Holocaust together, but as Haredi, Orthodox and secular Jews, we have different opinions about that. It has different meanings for both of us. And specifically in the Corona time, there is a kind of conflict going on between the Haredi Orthodox world and the secular world about dealing with it and ways of dealing with it. And instead of us arguing, we could try to talk together.
Is it difficult, though? I mean, you mentioned because of the painful lessons of the Holocaust, being in Israel as Israelis. That being said, there's different lessons that have been learned from different communities. Is it difficult as a religious man to see perhaps how secular Jews or secular society is learning a different lesson from your community?
100%. It's very hard. For sure, I think that if we memorize the Holocaust, it's about how much we are active in fighting evil. Now, we're sure that this evil is very different than the evil that was then, because we're talking about human evil, and here we're talking about a virus. But I think that part of the secular world look at the Haredi community and say, some of them, yeah, very few today are not watching and not collaborating enough, and the question is didn't we learn a lesson? Don't we have to try to be more active? But I will say that most of the Haredi community today is collaborating, and that's something that's not always understood in the secular world.
In recent weeks, Ayla, is it when we have seen parts of secular Israeli society point accusatory finger at Haredi communities of Israel, saying that you're violating the protocols, you're endangering health, praying together, having large outdoor minyan, keeping synagogues open or yeshivot open. We see ultra-Orthodox communities blaming secular society. You guys are out jogging on the beach, you're running together and exercising, you're having demonstrations, you're crowded together out in public and shops that shouldn't be open in the first place. There's a lot of blame to go around. Talk to me perhaps, the impact of that, both sides blaming the other.
Yeah, well, if you are into the blame game, so then the Israeli society is being torn apart into its sects or groups, and in that way you cannot create any consensus, and you cannot go together to joint purposes or aims that I'm sure that we have, Haredi and Chiloni, together. And also I want to say that sometimes this blame game, is a tool, let's say, in politics or for politicians, because by that they can gain more political interest or political gains. And we, the common people, the people who meet each other in Bnei Brak and in Vodetיים and in Ramat Gan, and that we have business together, and in Ashdod and in many places, we want to live together and to find ways how to do it.
But even now, even today, there's pushback against the rolling back of some lockdown procedures in some ultra-Orthodox towns. There's criticism of the way Tel Avivians are living.
Yeah, criticism is not a bad thing, and an open society should be able to criticize. But there is a difference between criticizing and between turning it into a war, into, let's say, brothers and sisters wars. And this is what we want to prevent. We want to say, okay, we do not agree about everything. We have our conflicts, we have our disagreements, but we can create, a safe space in which we can talk about it together, and we can find where are the places in which we can agree about, in which we can understand each other's needs.
As a bridge almost here, what are you learning perhaps from the secular Israelis that you're communicating with in the middle of this health crisis? What are you learning from them? And then what are you trying to teach them from your community that you hope they understand as well?
Okay. First of all, I think that I really respect the strict view of being careful with the rules. I respect that very much. And I say that many Haredi people respect that. But on the other hand, if we are talking about conflict and extremists trying to take this conflict and make it into a big fire, okay? I think we have to be the older people and putting a sense into this. Basically, what I'm learning from the secular world is how you deal, and you're active in one hand. But I'm saying on the other hand, what happened to Haredi community is very tragic, because we're very, and it's very rare in the modern world. We're very social. We live together physically. We live together. We meet a lot of people every day, and that in regular times gives us a sense of resilience, and that's very hard. It's very difficult. Trying to say the Haredi community is actively not listening to the rules, it's also a very big misunderstanding in our tradition. So by us being able to come in the Israeli Congress and in Ploukta and get to certain agreements is basically leaving the extremists to continue fighting, because that's going to happen. Too bad. That's what's going on. And letting all the people that are in the middle having a deep conversation of our conflicts and things that we do agree together.
Very interesting. And again, I'm about to enter this very dark and solemn commemoration. Thank you both so much for being here and explaining more. Great to have you both. Thank you.